a banger, I can't even lie. The DJ said reload it last time.
Because you always just that.
I think
I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on. Like the big man Ian Wright just said there, and as the chorus goes, people deluded, I'm back again. First things first, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night, dependent on whatever time zone you're operating from. Appreciative to have you lot here, whether you're on Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube. If you're on YouTube, smash the like button. Don't forget to turn on your notification bells and subscribe. Twitch, make sure you're following with Amazon Prime. Make sure you're following across all the platforms, and big up the Twitter ones. Again, any talking points we go over, feel no sort of way about questions, opinions, etc., etc. Football's subjective and like life, and be quite boring if we all had the same things to say. So I welcome opinions, and as usual, big up you lot, man. Back to listening to you while working, DG. Big up the 9-to-5ers, Lobo. Appreciate you. And everyone else who's part of the furniture here, man. I see a couple of you in the comments, my guys. And, you know, especially as we're at the end of the year and it's time to, I guess, sit back and kind of think about what you have or haven't achieved or what you've got. You know, I must admit, behind the scenes, I'm been a bit pessimistic, people, if I'm honest, but, you know, big up you lot, man. You lot keep the thing going. Pat, so I know you're tuned in from Bulgaria. So shout out the Bulgarians. You said you're not sure about Solanke. I don't think many people are sure about Solanke. For me personally, I'm not going to sit here and say Solanke moves me. I think he moves the needle. He gets us closer to City or even Liverpool in terms of what they've accomplished in the game recently. I don't believe none of that. Do I think he could be a good squad player? Yes. Do I like the fact that he's English and an Arsenal fan? And yeah, not to diss Eddie Nketiah. Do I think he's an upgrade on Eddie Nketiah? I do. And if he's coming in to kind of be that and Jesus is about and the next striker comes in, fair enough. But it's probably unrealistic to think there's going to be 3 quote-unquote strikers like that. You know, I'm sure Solanke got England ambitions. Are you really going to accomplish that at Arsenal? But what I will say with Solanke, you know, he isn't the first player that he ain't signed for the club. But if he did sign for Arsenal, we can have our reservations, but he wouldn't be the first or the last sort of player that's been said about. You know, Mikel Arteta is a great manager. And I think, you know, many years ago, he actually took over today. But I do think when he signed players that we haven't been convinced on, it's kind of worked out, really. You know, not everybody, obviously the dynamics were different, but not everyone was universally sold on Martin Odegaard, on keeping Granit Xhaka, on getting rid of Aubameyang, you know, on bringing in Benjamin White, if I haven't said that, and Ramsdale and all of these sort of things. You know, again, the jury is still out on Kai Havertz, but right now in the last couple of games, it's okay. So, as I said, the manager has got things wrong. Every decision I think he's got well. I could also probably find some in relation to recruitment. William, Marie, Lokonga, you know, Tavares. Don't really want to throw him into the same realm as them, but Fabio Vieira, in the sense of we spent 30 million quid and we've seen little bits and pieces of what you can do, but you know, injuries, going through a purple patch, kind of getting starts and then ultimately getting back to square one. These have been constant themes. So, yeah, man, I wouldn't be against Solanke. I would prefer to sign a top dog up front, a top dog, and then just keep it moving, really. But if we got Solanke, I would be looking down my nose a bit. But we've done a lot worse, if I'm honest, man. Playing for Bournemouth, but yet has more goals than all our attackers in the Premier. He's dead in it. Don't judge, man, and big up DG, but some idiots in the chat. I hear you, North, and this is why I don't advocate, you know, everyone's allowed an opinion, but this is why I don't advocate writing a man off, really and truly. But, I mean, 8 goals. I think I looked at his Premier League record again. You know what? Better yet, because I haven't got it to hand. It's not too prolific, and that's one luxury you could give to Solanke, I guess. In that, in a more attacking team, a better team, respectfully to Bournemouth, he probably scores a lot more, really and truly. Let me actually see, because I mentioned it. To be fair, you know, he's got 8 goals in 16 appearances at this moment in time, which is probably the most he's got. He has 65 goals and 28 assists in 193 appearances for Bournemouth. Now, when you break that down into the Premier League, the Championship, he's a top guy, really and truly. 44 goals and 18 assists in 86 appearances. When you start to look at top European leagues in the Eredivisie. Fair enough. He was young them times, but he played 25 times, got 7 goals and 1 assist. In the Premier League, he's played 112 times and got 18 goals and 11 assists. So if he's coming to be a support actor, squad player and that, I'm here for it. And, you know, if Arteta's talent ID has been all right. If we're looking at him to move the needle and be a man that's going to get 20, 30 league goals, I hope it would be. It'd be a great romantic story, but I'm not really for it. And again, I guess the price tag. And for me, where I look at Solanke, I don't know what Arsenal are or aren't trying to do. But for me personally, I would look at that as, again, like you tried to get Ivan Toney. You might have tried to get Sesko, Evan Ferguson, apologies, Oshimen. You've gone around at Vlahovic. You've gone around Europe and Jimenez of Feyenoord. You've gone around you know, all the leagues and teams and tried to get the more upper echelon talents, and it hasn't worked out really, man. So yeah, man. But what I do like, and I have no metrics to hand, I do like how Solanke plays football. I think he holds the ball up well. I think he drops deep. I think he works the channels. That's why I wouldn't be against him as a squad player. But yeah, I'm not. You need to sign a top don first, man. Am I being fooled into thinking we might add a couple of players in January with all this interest going about, and we're not even at the start of the transfer window? Graham, I wouldn't say you're being a fool by any stretch of the imagination. You hope Arsenal bring in a couple of additions, as we've kind of been indirectly speaking about it. I think I speak for every Arsenal fan. We'd all love a striker, maybe a winger to compete / you know, be part of the squad on Saka's level or of that kind of same standard. I think we're playing a dangerous game if we don't sign a central midfielder, and if we don't probably address that between January and the summer, and a defensive body or two wouldn't go amiss. But at the same time, you know, what the teams are actually doing or clubs are actually doing, and rumours is very different things. Obviously, you know, we're in the midst of a congested fixture calendar list, so there's plenty of talking points. But as we move towards January, it's starting to get to silly season. Rumours are starting to float about. People are getting paid for engagement articles and whatnot. So the dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. I'm more than willing to speak to you a lot about players and news and things. But as I always say, till people are holding scarves, saying they've been Arsenal fans since they were young, and it's been signed and sealed on the dotted line, that's all it stays as, man. Solanke is not a heavy upgrade on Eddie. Very Raya / Ramsdale-ish. I think he's better than Eddie Nketiah, if I'm honest with you, in terms of his general play. But in terms of goals, it don't really move the needle, if I'm completely honest. Creeper, appreciate you. And as the man said, smash the like button. Solanke's all right, but he isn't clinical. It's Toney and Jan and Osman in the summer. Let an Arsenal fan dream. I'd love that, but I can't see us having two big ticket strikers and Jesus. Of course, there's plenty of times where, you know, Jesus has picked up a couple injuries, whether it's injuries, games, changing team dynamics. There is a realm where 3 strikers can kind of exist. You know, I wouldn't actually be against if you bring in Oshimen or one of them kind of strikers. Jesus naturally becomes the number 2, and you've got Eddie and Nketiah a part of the squad, really. Whether he's down to do that, I don't know. I do, and I feel like a broken record because I do think people are quite harsh on Eddie and Nketiah. Do I think he needs to make significant progress? Yes, but I do think he's improved. I do think he's shown at times an air of reliability, and he's gone from being on the peripheral things at Arsenal to being a rotation option / a starting player. Now, Eddie and Nketiah is not a man that's going to, unless he wake up tomorrow and he's getting 20, 30 goals and his general plays improve rapidly, he's not going to get us to where we need to go to. And sometimes this might be your story, really. You know, we're here with Xhaka, Toney, Ramsdale, and people of that ilk. Where Arteta wants to go, some players are going to fall by the wayside. And you know what? If Eddie Nketiah's career at Arsenal ends in January or the summer, he can look at it with his head held high. He's picked up a couple of trophies. He's been in and around the first team. He's been managed by Wenger, Emre, and Arteta. Scored and started in the Champions League. Living the hat trick as well this season. You know, even at times, you know, when Jesus has been back fit, it's not, you know, Eddie's form's been good. So he can leave with his head held high. But I think we're now moving in that scenario where I do, and again, like Martel has said there, Eddie and Nketiah's mentality, I believe, is one of the best in the squad. Unfortunately, the way we're moving now, I think we need to get rid of players or less reliant on players that, you know, 3, 4, 5 games, they're out of this world. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but we know even when Saka isn't at his best, he's making a difference. I'm not asking, obviously, everyone to be to that level, but Saka, Saliba, Declan Rice, in my opinion, them 3 are the standouts. Just below that, I think Gabriel's the most underrated player at Arsenal. Gabriel, Odegaard, Jesus, Zinchenko, them lot are all there. I think we need to kind of but less reliant on, you know, respectfully, Jorginho, Eddie Nketiah, Fabio Vieira, and it's not just them players that 4 or 5 games they will play out of their skin. But Arsenal, we do this thing where we take players that should be rotation options or on the peripheral, and then we start looking at you to do it for 10, 20 games, and ultimately, we've seen the movie before, man. We all know Oshimen has a release clause of 130 million. We ain't activating that dream, broski. I don't think we're getting Oshimen, but as you said, let an Arsenal fan dream. Apparently, it's 112 million with what did they say the word was? Mechanisms. I can't say that word, but there's certain things that can go up to 130, and I do think Arsenal will try their best to get into the Oshimen realm. I don't know why I think this. I just think he's going Chelsea and whatnot. I just think it's a myth in that regards, really. But you never know, man. The dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. Yo, DG, I can't lie. Getting a striker can sort out right wing depth as we can push Jesus wide, or maybe even look. I'm not sure in the second part, but yeah, and that's what I think we need to do with Jesus. If we sign a new striker, I don't think Jesus should be completely rubbed out. The man's got qualities, but in terms of goal scoring, you're not that guy, sort of thing. So, and you're right, that could help us really, and indirectly you fix the problem. I guess that would extend the shelf life potentially of Reece Nelson. I don't even know. Maybe the club even sit there and say, do you know what? If we can't get Pedro Neto, Trossard's 29. He's good for a couple of years. When it's time to kind of phase him out, we'll bring a next one in. Obviously, you would love to hope that, the Coles, the Dewberrys, the Ethans, guys that can play in wide areas, they get a look in and a gap is kind of plugged there, if I'm honest. Despite our current lack of depth in the back, what price moves Arsenal to consider selling Kiwior, DG? I don't think it makes sense, and I don't think we'd get an offer, but surely you need to get your 25, 30 million pound back and a sell-on clause to even consider that, really. If it's not that, then it don't make sense. And, in general, I'm definitely not open to selling Smith Rowe. You lot know I'm the biggest Smith Rowe fan there is, but if I remove my fanboy cap, Smith Rowe, Eddie Nketiah, Jorginho, Kiwior, and Elneny, there's a bunch of players that you could say, listen, move on. I'm not really for Ramsdale. I'm not really necessarily for it in January because we're tearing up the squad. It's not the summer. We can't be doing all of this, if I'm honest with you. So for me, obviously, if there's offers and if we're replacing players, great. If there's offers that can't be turned down, great. But for me, anyone that wants to lead this club, deal with it in the summer, because this is what Mikel Arteta was betting on for what was ever to be in this season in August. Obviously, he can't, pardon me, account for any injuries. We've had long-term injuries to Timber, but this was the squad you bet on. Maybe in the back burners, the club tried to get people moved on, tried to bring other people in. But to me, as an ignorant fan, I can only go off what's done. And January is a reactive window. In an ideal world, Mikel Arteta, not a single manager in world football wants to sell anyone, more or less sign people. It's a reactive window. Players are not happy with their situation. People are pushing for loans. Obviously, with the Euros, some players, not necessarily at Arsenal, are pushing for that. Obviously, there's injuries and things like that. It's a reactive window. We needed an extra defensive body. We got Kiwior last January. Trossard, great player, but had one foot out the door. Wasn't even allowed to train with Brighton. Jorginho, it was made clear from Chelsea, you need to keep it moving. So we'll have to see, man. Don't you think Victor Boniface is better than Osman? I don't know about better, but I do like the look of him. Arda Güler is lit, man. But, you just joined the Real Madrid dynasty. You ain't going anywhere soon. DG, what's your 11 versus Liverpool minus the standard 11 we've been seeing, but maybe putting Kiwior at left back instead of Zinni? You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, man. I would say if Kiwior, with the chances, minimal, but with the chances he's got, maybe could have taken advantage. I think we're at that point now, like, we know what Zinchenko's about. We might as well just bet heavily on that because, either Kiwior or Zinni, they've both got their faults. I kind of didn't even want to focus on Liverpool until literally on the day. But to answer your question, I kind of think the team more or less picks itself. Obviously, David Raya in goal. Big up Ramsdale, though. Benjamin White, right back. I think you're going to have... I would, bet on Zinchenko at left back, even though we saw what happened last year at Anfield. The two centre-halves in Gabriel and Saliba, it goes without saying. In midfield, Kai Havertz, long may this form continue. Odegaard and Declan Rice complete that. Martinelli on the left, Saka on the right. Jesus up front. I don't think there should be any other changes than such, man. But yeah, man, I think Boniface is lit, but I don't think he's levels with Oshimen. At least right now, I don't think his body of work is quite there yet. DG, which of the three strikers you would prefer if you could only sign one? First choice, Oshimen, isn't it? Obviously, the fact that he's had 14 injuries, he's obviously been in Germany, he's been in France, and obviously he's been in Napoli as well, or Italy, better yet. So it's shown he can adapt to the way of life, you know, in other countries and things like that. But the fact that he's got 14 injuries, some people would say, you know what, Serie A attacks and stuff like that, these are things that go against him. But I like the look of Oshimen, man. I really like the look of him. You know, I do like the fact of, you know, again, not to make it anything more than just on the football pitch, but you know, Arsenal are heavily supported in Africa, and it'd be nice to have another African player to go with Partey for that as well. And I just think he's lit. And the more I watch him, like, I can't remember the game, but I know you lot all saw that assist he did where he's doing kick-ups and then he laid it for someone. Bro, we could deal with that. If we got Oshimen doing all of that, Jesus could do whatever he wants, just be a havocy kind of player. You know, Saka, Martinelli, the young thugs doing what they're doing, Wondergaard doing what he's doing, Saliba being gracious, Declan Rice. Bro, we could cook, man. We could do something, man. I'm not gonna lie, we could do something. So Oshimen be the first choice. Then I'll go for. I know his name's not in the title, but for me, and I've got no reason to go off this. But Oshimen first, I'm not going to lie, I'll spin the block for Vlahovic. Arteta, you tried to get him aggressively. You were scouting. You must have seen something. Let's see what could happen there. Obviously, we don't know if he's going to sign a new deal at Juventus. Then I would look at Toney, if I'm honest with you. And then after that, might as well go for Boniface or one of them. You know what? If you're going to keep up the theme with the Prem, Ollie Watkins, I'm a big fan of you. I weren't convinced years ago when we was initially linked with you. But time, you know, proves people wrong. I'm a big fan of Ollie Watkins. And, you know, him versus Saliba, obviously he didn't score. So fans can sit there and say, oh, he didn't score, he didn't have a good game. But I think it was a good battle. And I got a glimpse into, you know, you keep hearing me say with certain players, they'll work their channels, they'll drop deep, they'll play like a traditional striker. Obviously, I'm not saying Arsenal the best team since sliced bread, but at Arsenal, a lot of these players might even score more goals, especially because now in the last few weeks, you know, we're actually starting to create chances and break down low blocks. So something's been arrested positively on the training front, where you look back at the start of the season, I still think our defensive, that's why I was happy to get a clean sheet against Brighton, by the way. I think our defensive quality or standards have somewhat dropped. Where you look back at the start of the season, we were scoring goals, but the conflict was more with us Arsenal fans. We're not really creating, really. Now, I believe it's more converting opportunities. You know, again, big up Brighton, but 2-0 flattered you. It should have been 5-0 in the first half. Obviously, we lost to Aston Villa because we had an inability to finish our dinner. The Newcastle away game, I actually think we was quite good in the defensive and middle third and competed. And, you know, we gave as good as they got, as good as we got, but ultimately Nick Pope had nothing to do. And, you know what, big up Newcastle. I've got no beef with you lot, but definitely your fans on social media and some of the Newcastle fans that I know, you lot have got a lot very big for your boots. And I'll never cheer on a Chelsea win, but it's you know, I kind of want Eddie Howe, and obviously Eddie Howe's nonsense kissing up to the refs. I'm kind of happy to see what I'm seeing. And to be fair with you, Caicedo for Chelsea should have been, I'm going off topic, but he should have been sent off yesterday. But Bruno Guimaraes, I still want you at Arsenal, but you're an absolute fug. Like, you know, like that tackle he got away with was mad. And I like Bruno Guimaraes, but I've been saying it's a little bit of a joke, but the agenda has to start. Big games, what does Bruno do? What did he do against Arsenal? What has he done in the last few games? What did he do yesterday? He's a quality player, but when Odegaard don't turn up in big games, the Wolves are there. Bruno Guimaraes is so lovely and all these things. I often wonder what it's going to take to get Nelson more playing time. Dude got proper skills. Think there's a monster in there. Probably leave the club, if I'm honest. Unless you do an absolute madness, probably leave the club because you're probably not going to get ahead of Trossard, not get ahead of Martinelli. You're not playing instead of Saka. I actually think Nelson would prefer to play on the left. Unless, you know, you probably, God forbid, but you probably need some injuries or you need losses of form and things like that, really. Sounds weird, DG, but don't you think Oshimen makes the most sense? Because due to his injury history, he'll have to be heavily rotated, so Jesus might still be the 9 we see often. Moonda, such is Arsenal tax. If Oshimen's got injury issues and Jesus has got injury issues, you know, is it too far-fetched to think? You're not wrong, in theory, but both could be very injured. Hey, Troops turned me on Ivan. He would be living the dream and wouldn't want to be disappointed. I hear it, and it is nice to hear man's an Arsenal fan. I'm having Toney, if I'm honest. I don't think he's going to make me go, wow, but I think he's lit, man. Oshimen played in Germany, France, and Italy. League winner in 2 leagues. Put some respect on, brother. Amen. If Kiwior is under consideration to leave in January, then surely Timber and Tomiyasu aren't out as long as expected, unless Arteta has a defensive signing in mind. Probably not, but with Timber, I think we have to give the man grace. Like, as much as I would love to wake up tomorrow and Timber is fit, you know, sooner rather than later, we got to remember it's a big ACL injury. And from the moment he signed off by the doctors to partake in training, don't mean he's ready to play intensive Premier League football. You know, he's probably off, you know, he's obviously walking and that again. He's going to have to do, if he's not already doing things to strengthen the knee, then there's going to be a point where he can join in full training where there's contact. I hope it's not the case, but typically with these ACL injuries, they do suffer setbacks. They do pick up little niggling knocks, and it's going to take him a while to get fit, be able to play 90 minutes and all those sort of things. And as you know, time waits for no one. At what point from when he signed off fit to actually being fit and ready to be the Timber that started life so greatly at Arsenal? For me, I want to be wrong, but I write him off until next season. Tomiyasu, I hope he's back sooner rather than later. You're hoping Partey and him are back for anything from what's left of December to at a push somewhere in February, hopefully January. But even with Tomiyasu, I love the guy, but I do, and you lot saw me put out a vid when Tomiyasu was on the bench. I said, don't write him off. Arsenal fans need to start comprehending we need a squad. I think Tomiyasu, at the point of getting injured, was one of our better players, was one of the first names on the team sheet, you know, looked good in the final third, looked a lot confident. But the one thing that I would have to say with Tomiyasu is a bit like what we've seen indirectly with Gabriel Jesus now is, we know you lot's taking it, you lot get injured. Tomiyasu gets injured, he's been getting injured. So it's like, I hope that he never gets injured again, but we've seen this already. Elise, Eddie and Nketiah swap deal, then Toney in the midfield. If we do this in Jan, I think it's looking lit. I might be a bit stingy, but obviously, if there's offers for Eddie and Jan, I'm here for that. And if you bring in Toney, you've got Jesus, great. But I still think, yo, you know what, Eddie, you got to hold bench until the summer, you know, because there's nothing. I'd rather us be over-prepared. It's like, it's winter, right? You'd rather go out, leave your house with 20 million jackets on, have the luxury of saying, you know what, let me put a jacket or two in the car. Arsenal, it's like we go out in winter, and it's not quite cold initially, but we've got a little hoodie. When the temperature drops, we ain't got nothing really and truly. But I understand if people are going to come in, people need to be moved on. We've got to balance around the FFP and all of that sort of stuff. So it makes sense. Is Partey playing against Liverpool? Your guess is as good as mine. I like Garassi, definitely wouldn't be my first choice. I don't see any updates on Thomas Partey, although he has been named in Ghana's AFCON provisional squad. So maybe they've named him just to see if he'll be fit. Maybe they know something we don't, man. Leave Timber alone. I'm good seeing him next season. Same. As much as I badly want to see the brother, like, gotta allow it. DG, thoughts on the improved form of Kai Havertz? I was considering doing a video on it. Long may it continue. The jury's still out. It's a small case study. I don't know when the form actually turned around, but I would say, you know, give or take around the PSV game until now, it's nice to see him scoring goals, decisive actions. But I actually think Kai Havertz looked a lot settled before that. When you start looking at around the times of, you know, when we played West Ham away, obviously we lost. When we played Newcastle, obviously we lost. I do think Kai has looked a lot, he's looked settled, or off the ball, he has looked like he gets it with Arteta. Now, obviously, time has gone. He's getting better relationships with his teammates. And obviously, if you're playing in that left 8, we need you to kind of be decisive, really. And now he's looking confident. He's having decisive actions. He's scoring last-minute winners. You know, I don't even think he had the best of games necessarily against Brighton, but he's getting himself on the score sheet. And he's looking a lot more settled and confident. It's only been give or take a month or so. I think he won Player of the Month the other day. But this period right now has been the most positive in Kai Havertz's career at Arsenal. Nobody's talking about the price tag. No one, when you play well, nobody cares about your £65 million price tag. So long may it continue for Kai Havertz. But as I said, the jury's still out. You know, Arsenal fans, including myself, we're not quite, you know, sitting here and saying, you know what, could we have got different players, of course. Could you have got Shabazz? Could you have got Maddison? Could you have got Kudus? Could you have done this? Could you have done that? Long may it continue, man. You know, I wasn't behind the Kai Havertz signing 100%. I know a lot of you wasn't, you know, but that's why Mikel Arteta is the manager. And I'm here chatting shit on YouTube, innit? It's simple, you know. When Kai plays like this, Arteta looks like a genius. When he doesn't, there's a very thin line between being an idiot and being a genius. So long may it continue. And as I said, I weren't behind the signing of Kai Havertz. I had nothing against the player, but it's just I don't see how you get us closer to City. But I wanted to be proven wrong. Just because I feel that doesn't mean, you know, I wouldn't want him to, because we got a good player in our team. We're going to do all right. So long may it continue with Kai Havertz, man. And You know, for him, he's got and based on the interview we went over the other day, he seems like he's quite strong mentally. He's definitely a lot stronger than he looks, and he's more of a fighter than he looks. But he just needs to accept that one good or bad game doesn't define me. As much as fans can have an opinion and stuff, as long as you've got the confidence of your teammates and the manager, to a degree, that's all you need, and keep it going. Obviously, Kai Havertz is a player that when he was at Chelsea, we all did it. WhatsApp groups with our Chelsea fans. He's a target, easy sort of target. Humble, and then we signed him, so he weren't really convincing. He's an ex-Chelsea player. He's obviously going to start his life at Arsenal on the back foot, but long may it continue with Kai, really and truly looking settled in that left 8. And you know, we all knew when Kai signed, assuming everyone was fit, we all would probably want to see Odegaard, Partey, and Declan Rice, and I still think there's games for that. But we all know Mikel Arteta is trying this, you know, the Kai Havertz, the Declan Rice, and the Odegaard thing. This is the new look trio of at least based for this season, and it's finally looking all right. You know, all of them are performing relatively. You know, Odegaard put on a clinic. Declan Rice could just pass a football, and we'll scream we've never seen a ball pass like that. So long may it continue, man. We need to get a midfielder in Jan. Can't rely on Partey to be fit, even if he plays well at AFCON. I think he goes in the summer, maybe even Jan. I wouldn't let him go in Jan, but I do think summertime Partey's gone. Partey's a quality player, but if you're never fit, like we're saying the same things year in, year out. We all question Kai signing, just got to work. Kai keep doing his job. There you have it. I think Kai wasn't as bad as people projected. I thought at the start he was just average, but now he's making more of a difference. True. And that's what I've said it in my videos before. Like, it's a bit, I do think there are players, unfortunately, that are scapegoated. And I did think there was times where we ain't lost too many times, but we might have dropped points or not necessarily played well. And Kai Havertz is the biggest talking point where, yeah, you know, hold him to high standards, but he ain't been the worst player on the pitch. It's a bit like Eddie and Nketiah. I do think because people didn't want these players, they're not convinced on these players, and you can have that thought. But when that starts spiraling over to it and you start kind of lying across what you've seen in the 90-minute game, then you're in issues. But long may it continue with Kai Havertz. Keep doing the business, in it. Simple as that. I think we all want to see it, really. What Kai needs to care about the manager, not what we think. But I agree, I wouldn't have wanted Kai. But if you told me back there, him or Mount, I wanted Kai, never rated Mount. I'm not going to lie to you. I probably would have been behind the Kai Havertz, the Mason Mount thing first. Xhaka rates Kai. Yeah, Xhaka can rate whoever, blood. Tell him to stop telling us about the Palace game, man. Do we go with the same lineup against Liverpool? Was it time to bring back Jorginho? I can't lie, I don't know, but I'm inclined to keep things how I want to keep it. Tommy just can't play 4 or 5 games in a row. It is what it is. Probably trains harder than the match. I'll keep Eddie till summer, but I hear it if we need to sell. Onana, Diamande, and Oshimen, this team would compete for big trophies for a minute. Let an Arsenal fan dream. That's all we can do, man. Would you swap Eddie and Jesus for Toney and Solanke? No. Take Jesus' name out of that, my guy. Like, Jesus should have been nowhere. You know, Jesus is lit. I just think with you, Jesus, we need to get over these injuries you've picked up. And I want you to still become a goal scorer, but the art of goal scoring, bring someone else who that's their bread and butter. That's what they do. You know, someone that's going to score goals. Jesus, you do your chaotic Brazilian stuff. I'm here for it, man. I'm a big fan of Gabriel Jesus. I'm sure a lot of you are as well. And it does my head in because I don't know about anyone else, but I will never ask more of a footballer to what I genuinely believe they've got. I mean, he hasn't done it, so he probably don't have it, but Jesus is far too good of a player not to get 20 league goals minimum. Like, I don't know why you're not doing it. And I still want you to be able to do that, because if you could just add that, that's the only thing that is average about Gabriel Jesus. You would be lit. You're wearing the number 9. You know, and if I'm honest, you know, the number 9, the number 14, the number 10 in the team. Boy, like, if you've got these numbers, it's put up or shut up, really. I'm always trying to watch your lives and vids. Keep up the grind. I love watching your content. Appreciate that, my guy, man. Appreciate that. And Jesus is slowly but surely starting to cook, smash the lights. Partey will become fit and Partey be played at right back. I'm not against it if it works. Xhaka didn't leave until Kai signed, even though the deal was 90% done. I hear that. And that's logical. That's what you should be doing, because if the move went south for whatever reason with Kai Havertz and we already sold Xhaka, then we didn't have that fullback plan, really, if I'm honest. But I do think, to go back over that, I do think Kai Havertz was scapegoated, but hopefully it keeps going. But unfortunately, you know, Kai Havertz is not going to play amazing forever. You know, everyone goes through good or bad form. You know what's going to happen when he has that occasional bad game. You know, football's not a rational game. Fans are not rational. So he's just going to have to keep doing the business, man. Kai is starting to improve. That's good for the team, but I want to see it consistently. Now, exactly, you look settled in that 8. What I want to see with Kai Havertz now, obviously, you know, he has played up front and whatnot, but you're a left 8 in this Arsenal team. Make that your own. Keep doing what you're doing. If Arteta wants to play you out wide or other roles and things, that's great. But let's lock down one thing, because for a while now, Kai's been able to play everywhere. And I can't remember the Leverkusen gaffer. It might have been Peter Bosz recently. He said that, you know, I played Kai up front. I played him here, there, and the otherwhere and everywhere. And even for Germany, he's played left back. You can play all these roles, but you need to be able to be a household name in one thing, if I'm honest with you. Like, you know, Tomiyasu, give or take, is a fullback. He can play at centre half. He can play on the other side. Timber, the same logic, you know, forcing it, but Kiwior as well. Zinchenko, I know people might not buy into it. He can somewhat play left back. We know he's a midfielder by trade. Trossard can play in 1-2 roles. Martinelli can play on the left and the right as well as up front. Never want to see it again, but I've seen Saka at left back. I've seen him play left wing. I've seen him actually play under Mikel Arteta in midfield. But yeah, man, like, I want these players to be able to perform in one role and then be able to do all of that adapting stuff, if that makes sense. DG, there are Arsenal fans that don't want Oshimen because he isn't Premier League proven. Why English fans believe that Prem proven nonsense? If you're good, you can play everywhere. I do think there's half truth in it, in that, you know, I don't even think being in the Prem is about necessarily being a good footballer. I just think you need to understand, like, and I'm sure if you're in Italy, Spain, Germany, Holland, all these things, you'll say different. But I just think sometimes it's more time, it's the intensity. Every game is a fight. You know, I'm sure in other countries, if a big team plays a small team, it's not really that deep per se. Here in the Prem, or better yet in England, the atmospheres are brazy. So I think it's more buying into that than anything. So yeah, and sometimes a lot of footballers off the field just don't settle in England, really. And obviously, if you're in any other job, if your home life is a mess or you're not comfortable, you're not... Of course, going to work can be an escape, but you're not going to be the best because you're going to bring that baggage directly or indirectly. I do think there is some logic with signing Premier League, quote-unquote, proven players, and I have liked Arteta kind of going for that. But as you said, players are everywhere, man. You could sign a player from the Premier League crap. You could sign someone from, I don't even know, Jamaican League, Somalian League, whatever, and they're lit. So where do you have it? Good players can play anywhere. But I do think there's some logic in it, but it is quite overstated. We should look to do what we did against City, make the game boring, control it, and then bring Kai on late to win the aerial duels. I think sometimes you've got to play on the form. Like, I did think we'd see a lot more of Jorginho. Obviously, if Kai or Jorginho start, then where we at? But I think the team's got to stay how it is, man. If anything, Jorginho can come on and close out the game. Hopefully, there's tired legs. I think I'm starting Kai because of what you said with his aerial stuff, because of his form now, kind of playing on that, because of the fact that one thing I do like about Kai Havertz, he is down for the making fouls and defending and all of that. And Liverpool, it's a game like that. We're not going to get the Liverpool of Man United. I hope to God we do, the team that played Man United. I hope to God we do. But as you know, even whether you play Sunday League or watch Premier League football, sometimes you can play a team that's worse than you, which United are over Liverpool, and your levels drop to Man United standards for whatever reason. Naturally, sometimes when you're playing teams that are as good or better than you, which I don't think we're better than Liverpool, but we're both two good teams at this moment in time, the levels are going to raise because it's 2 drop points, especially with seeing us beat Brighton and obviously City drop points. And these are 6 pointers. Anytime you can, I don't look at the league table, disclaimer, but anytime you can take points, quote unquote, of people around you, it's big. And that's why I'm kind of angry of not beating Spurs in particular as well, and actually Villa and Newcastle, because in them games, I don't think we was outplayed. Obviously, they took points, or 2 of them teams won, but we should have taken full points, man. And that's on top of just obvious things we need to improve. That's one thing I want to see eradicated. I do think we have this air about us of making games harder than it needs to be. We have shown that we'll react to setbacks. We don't die until the end, but it didn't need to be dramatic like it was at Stamford Bridge. I don't know what would have happened, but if we played how we did with 20 odd minutes left in that game from the start, where would we be? If we was a bit more switched on against Fulham and the, you know, the middle of the game was good, but how we started and ended it, you saw it there. Spurs, we shot ourselves in the foot. Yes, Jorginho made a mistake, but the whole team went to sleep for the first one. And we also, if you remember, we started that game against Spurs very good. We didn't finish some chances way before we scored. Again, you're not going to win all the games, but if you're fighting for a Premier League team, fighting for a Premier League title, you need to get these things done, man, if I'm honest. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Rob Holding, I'm not trying to hear that ever again. I mean, Kai, if I was a manager, I'd love Kai Havertz. He seems like he's a man, you tell him to do something, he's not going to question. He'll fight for his teammates. You know, he can play in a bunch of roles. Whether he excels is another thing. Yeah, listen, those of you that follow my content, how many months ago did I say one thing that makes me quote unquote happy is the prospect of being in December and Tomiyasu, Timber, and Partey are at least options. God said, yeah, DG, you think they're options? Yeah, all right, cool. And you know what's going on. Chelsea was prepped for us. That's true as well, man. You know, Chelsea started very good, but I also think we was moving mad. And I do think I kind of blame Mikel Arteta indirectly, because when you're bringing on Jorginho against Spurs, where Jorginho's a man that I think needs to start games. Obviously, he's come off the bench and done well, but he looks like one of them that needs to start. He kind of struggles to come off the bench and ease his way in. And obviously, we know Jorginho is not the most robust. And, you know, Zinchenko is beyond mediocre defensively, but it gives you a lot of strengths. When you rock up at Chelsea, as you said, they've prepped well. It's a big game. They've got nothing to lose because they're doing better than them. You kind of sign up for things. And I could be wrong, but either Jorginho or Zinchenko, one of them got hooked at half-time in that game. And that's where I think in the summer of next year, we need to eradicate that. By all means, have these guys as options if you want. But we need tugs, man. Yes, Deluded. Excited to see what striker we bring in. Love the streams. Appreciate that, Harry. I am as well. I don't want to pour cold water, but I don't think we're getting one in January. Now, because I'm saying that, who am I? I'm watching the news like you lot. I'm sitting here. I want to be wrong. But even if we signed a striker, and it's going to sound mad. Obviously, if you sign Oshimen, this is all, yeah, it's all done, innit? But if you give me a striker and we ain't got a centre mid and a defender, I'm not happy. And I wouldn't necessarily be happy if you don't bring in a striker, but I'd be a lot more happier if we had a centre mid and a defender, because midfield keeps me up at night. I like Kai Havertz's form. You know me, I'm a big fan of Odegaard. Anyone that says Declan Rice isn't quality is a hater. Anything happens to them, boy, if they all start and things are going wrong, hey, defensively, anything happens to Saliba, God forbid, Gabriel, even Zinchenko now or Benjamin White, boy, like, it's not looking nice. You know, we're not that. Well, a couple more bodies dropping this Arsenal team. Declan Rice is going to have to go centre half, which obviously has a knock-on effect, because we ain't got the midfielders. Boy, there's a lot to be excited about with Arsenal. But if we could just pattern up one, two things, fix up one, two things in the team, we're laughing, man. If I'm honest with you lot, keep your talking points, etc. coming. You lot are in top form as usual. If you haven't subscribed and smashed the like button, do such. Let's see what the news is saying, people. Man, again, the conversation's been so lit. I've got distracted, man. I remember at the start of the season, we kind of struggled to create. Now we can't finish. It's crazy, isn't it? Really and truly. And then we look like we dropped a level, in my opinion, defensively. Depth is a major issue. You can never have too many players. And I do think Arsenal fans need to get comfortable with having depth. I do think Arsenal fans are comfortable with depth. But you look at August, every player that wasn't starting, I don't agree with it, but Gabriel was on the bench. Couple players weren't starting. Oh, their futures are done. They're never going to play, etc., etc. Probably need a defender most, but players won't be up for sale or away at tournaments. And that's the thing. And it's a bit weird when you look at January, because it's a long time ago, but there was a time us Arsenal fans, in relation to transfer business in January, we were just talking about a striker. Then it became midfield. Now it's become defense. Now it's kind of all three. Whether we're able to do that is another thing. But as you lot can see in front of me, people, Ivan Toney, Arsenal lead Chelsea in race to sign Brentford striker. Allegedly, people. The Brentford striker is serving an 8... let's skip that. We know that. And we know he's available at some point in January, I think the 17th. Allegedly. And just because you're winning the race don't mean you've won it. But Arsenal are leading the chase for Brentford's Ivan Toney and what is shaping up to be one of the January transfer window's major sagas. The 27-year-old is currently a major target for a number of clubs looking at adding a centre forward during the window, including Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur. Hot shite. Given his quality, and you lot know I can't say that word, people, but yeah, available options in the position. Allegedly, Brentford are also willing to do business, having adapted the team to his absence, but you've lost Mbeumo due to injury, and he would have gone to AFCON. Weiss is going to AFCON. Who are Brentford going to play up front? Surely you'd say, Toney, we stuck by you. Listen, if you want to go in the summer, cut in the summer, innit? Stay here for now. Or maybe Brentford are signing a striker of their own, or maybe fuel the Eddie and Nketiah rumours, because you've got to remember, everything's got a knock-on effect. Wherever Brentford go, assuming we signed Ivan Toney in January, wherever Brentford are going to find a striker, if you're that selling club, because we're pretending we're Brentford, are you not going to sit there and say, hold on, you just got money from Arsenal for Ivan Toney, you know? You're getting an extra 27 million on top of the 3 million that you got for David Raya. We know you've got money. I know we said 15 million. That's 20. Fair enough. If you want to go elsewhere, go elsewhere. But we need a striker for what we're doing. This is the sort of things like Arsenal are going into January as well in a position of weakness to a degree. Clubs know the frailties defensively and in midfield. And I guess that's nothing unique to these clubs. It's just business. Wait, is Jorginho injured? Apparently there's illness going around at Arsenal and Jorginho was ill. Apparently even Declan Rice and Martinelli have been battling with that. So we'd have to see. Do you think Neto would be a good option for us from Wolves? He's explosive, skillful, and would be good backup. I think he would have been great. You know, when we think of Pedro Neto, we look at it and say, yo, it's you versus Saka. But he was actually playing off the left. And prior to his injury, in the early start of the Premier League, he was one of the better performing players. And we know we've tried to sign Pedro Neto before. I'm a big fan of his. But the Douglas Luizes, the Pedro Netos, Oshimen in January, these men are not leaving their clubs in January. Again, I could be wrong. Money talks. But why would you want to sell them? These clubs are trying to accomplish whatever they're trying to accomplish. You want Eddie Brentford, low deal of 60 million. You know what? In an ideal world, I understand if Eddie has to be sold to bring in money, and it is what it is. He'd make a good profit, 100% profit according to FFP. But if we signed Ivan, Toney, Oshimen, whoever, I would not be against loaning out Eddie Nketiah, because if he does improve to a level where he can come back and be part of Arsenal, great. But he might be going from a player that's 20, 30 million to 50, 60 in a couple of years. I don't know, people. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Moving on with this, people. As we said, Brentford are allegedly willing to do business. The forthcoming end of that band has seen a series of clubs escalate their interest. While Chelsea had long been seen as the most likely destination, they have to make a number of sales in January to be compliant with profit and sustainability rules. I think Ivan Toney is someone Chelsea admire, but Osman's the one that they're going after, and they know they're not getting him in January. That is before they can even think of buying, especially a player expected to be valued at 60 million up front and perhaps as much as 80 million, including add-ons. Another element that has shifted the race, however, is Chelsea's underperformance compared to Arsenal's. Mikel Arteta's side offered a chance of challenging for the Premier League title this season, and that has made them Toney's preferred option right now. Things can change. I don't want to say it, but, you know, Chelsea aren't going to lie down forever. They're going to be lit at some point. God forbid, but the shoe could be on the other foot next year. So I'm always wary of that. Arsenal are also considering the possibility that he could be the player to ultimately make the difference in the title race, especially now an even better opportunity has presented itself mid-season with Manchester City's inconsistent form. But hey, don't write off City, because we all know that mad run is coming soon. Toney has long interested them, although there are many more considerations before they make a concrete move. One is the length of time he has faced out. And Toney isn't, I'm sure he's fit to a degree, but you haven't been playing games. So are we going to get the Ivan Toney immediately that had 20 league goals? While he's Premier League proven, I'm sure Thomas Frank and Arteta, they're two very good managers. There's a lot of similarities, but how they want you to play up front might be very different. And he's still got to learn how his teammates are. And many people know that, but reality is we still got to get 3 points. So I'm not sure. Big up Happy. I read an interview with Toney a few months ago when these talks arose. He does not seem like an Arsenal player, a bit dim, possibly too harsh. Very harsh, man. I do think Ivan Toney, obviously the betting thing, his last podcast he did, there was a snap that went out where he was around some women and he was saying F Brentford. Respectfully, you can do that at Brentford. You can't do that over here. But I don't think, again, we don't even know if Arsenal are interested. This is creative journalism, but I think it's fair to assume that Arsenal are interested. We know Mikel Arteta, obviously, players are players, ability. But we know he's very big on how they handle themselves, how they kind of are as people first, and then footballers. So I'm sure obviously people could get things wrong, because Aubameyang, you saw his demise. But I'd imagine we've done our due diligence in that regards, man. And to be honest, you could just ask David Raya, really, innit? Allegedly, people. I've skipped out something. No, we haven't. Apparently, another is that Arteta wants 4 other positions he feels he needs to complete his squad. They are a centre forward, another midfielder, and 2 fullbacks. Arsenal's budget and their own profit and sustainability concerns means they may have to compromise on at least 2 of those for the time being, unless there are additional sales to supplement their transfer budget. There's an increase in belief, nevertheless, that a striker of Toney's quality and spark can have a huge impact in North London. Tottenham would love to sign Toney too, but are currently priced out of the market and likely to go for younger options. Manchester United allegedly have been interested in the past and equally feel the need to bring in another forward. It'd be good for Højlund, but I think they would benefit from getting rid of Ten Hag. That necessity is behind other priorities, though, and they are similarly need to sell. Outgoings are set to be the focus of their January window. So there you have that. Apparently, Brentford admit Chelsea and Arsenal transfer target could leave very shortly. Their sporting director has admitted that Toney could leave very shortly. Apparently, he said, I'm so excited for Ivan to come back because I see him out there in training and he's some player. It looks like he's never been away. There's real ambition from him. I can see it in his eyes that he's going to be better than he's ever been. I really believe that will be the case. Yes, there will be lots of interest in Ivan in January. Naturally, there should be. He was the third highest Premier League goal scorer last season. One of them, in brackets, Kane, has gone to Germany now. So he's up there as one of the best strikers in the division. He's top 5 in the world, in my opinion. Not sure, but sounds like someone talking up what they're selling, innit? Like someone selling fruit and veg at a market, telling you it's the best grown ever. But anyways, people, so there should be interest, and maybe the time comes very shortly that Toney moves on to another club, but they will have to pay a decent transfer fee to acquire his services because he's some talent. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. Apparently, he said, we sit in front of every player and say that if your career goals are above and beyond us at the right time, and if your valuation is met, then we'll be open to listening to the numbers, but it's got to be right for all parties. That's fair. We look at how it's going to affect the club, the team, the morale around the place, new acquisitions, player pathways underneath from the B team and academy. There's always a willingness from Brentford to do what's right. So if a deal is there to be done, then we are more than willing to play ball, which the club have proven with Ollie Watkins, obviously, Ben Rama, and obviously Raya, who's currently at the club at Arsenal. But equally, we will try to hold on to players so that we can maximize their potential with Brentford. We know when that point is. Clubs often make an inquiry at the wrong time for us, the wrong time for the player, and we don't strike deals. So, yeah, man. I watched Toney when he was in the Championship with Brentford, always a player I like. Toney I would like, but not playing games may need time. Toney will be a summer deal. I hear it, man, really. If only Toney was Brazilian. Edu knows how to get Brazilian deals done. Edu, you need to bring us the next Hendrick. Martinelli, you need to be bringing these guys, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, moving away from that, we've also been... One sec. Let me finish that coffee. Damn. Oh, we need some water. The show must go on. Onana, who can't take a penalty. If you lot saw Onana's penalty yesterday, my word. When people, obviously I'm not suggesting this, but when players take a penalty, how he took a penalty, I think you're doing it on purpose. But nonetheless, allegedly, we've been linked with Onana, and there's been rumours today that have kind of quashed that. Barcelona are keen on Onana for next summer. A meeting was recently made between the players' reps and Barcelona. Everton's midfielder is following closely by Man United. I think it means Man United are following him, and there's nothing with Arsenal at the moment, but he is a player we've been linked with for a long time. We've gone over this with Ivan Toney. So yeah, I'm trying not to miss a beat for you lot. Arsenal sent Victor Oshimen proof as Mikel Arteta considers Gabriel Jesus upgrade. Arsenal could look to sign a new striker in the next 12 months. That better change to 6 to 8 months, really, by summer. I don't know about 12. But yeah, with concerns growing over Gabriel Jesus' consistency to score goals. I mean, we knew what Jesus was on anyways. Arteta could be tempted to upgrade on Jesus and sign a new clinical striker to reinforce Arsenal's challenge for the Premier League. The Gunners currently sit top of the table. I never knew that, and will face Porto in Europe. We all know Jesus has been brilliant, and naturally there will be concerns, people. Scrolling all the way down, this is one reason why Oshimen is an appealing proposition for the Gunners as they continue to be linked with the Nigerian forward ahead of the January transfer window. Oshimen scored a whopping 31 goals in 39 appearances last term and has 18-16 this season, people. Okay. Skipping to the bulk of it, as you can see, this is like one big ass headline and there's just a lot of tosh in it. But nonetheless, the Nigerian forward could cost a fee in excess of 100 million. We knew that. But the Gunners have shown they are willing to spend big on players that take them up a level. The decision to spend 105 million on Declan Rice last summer is evidence of this and could see Arsenal cement themselves as Premier League title favourites and become a real force on the European stage for years to come. We'd all love that, but really and truly, that article is a whole bunch of nothing. Arsenal allegedly won't allow Chelsea-linked Aaron Ramsdale to leave the Emirates Stadium in the January transfer window. I don't think Chelsea, Newcastle, teams that are linked with him are going to, give us what we want. Elneny has been linked with Atletico Madrid. Allegedly, Simeone wants to add another pivot to his Atletico Madrid team, and the Argentine coach has an Arsenal star in mind for the role. According to reports, Elneny could be signed as a low-cost option in January, as the Egyptian star has the experience to slot into the number 6 from time to time. Yesterday, Thomas Partey, who is a midfielder, was linked with Barcelona, so it seems like La Liga clubs are keen on our players. We'll have to see, but he's only played 71 minutes and he's picked up an injury, and at 31 years of age, I mean, I like Elneny, but you're more than welcome, Atletico. We have been linked with Sporting Lisbon striker Gaio Queiroz, and allegedly Arsenal are very attentive to such. His manager came out yesterday, the day before, and said he's only leaving in Jan if you're activating that release clause, which is like something like 100 million. So that's me being told as a fan, if you want to try and get him, we'll talk in the summer. But the 25-year-old has done well, since swapping Coventry for Portugal with Sporting, and he's doing all right. He's got 17 goals and 8 assists from 20 appearances. And at 25 years of age, could see why he'd be on the radar. A summer transfer could be on the cards for the striker, but it's reported that Sporting will be reluctant to compromise on his 100 million euros release clause after, his huge success. So we're going to have to see exactly what happens in that regards, folks. So let's start closing things just because it makes it easier. David Ryan says Arsenal will keep playing out from the back at Anfield, so we don't need to look at that. Once again, Arteta and Arsenal will block anything that comes our way for Aaron Ramsdale, allegedly. Arsenal are expected to rebuff approaches for versatile defender Kiwior in January. As you know, he has been attracting interest and he's been linked with several Italian clubs, including AC Milan. Allegedly, in the summer, there was a link to Sevilla, who he would have played us in the group stages. Arsenal have said no to that. I'm not really for that, if I'm completely honest with you. Well, Kiwior's got 13 appearances this season. He started two of our last 4 games. Fair enough. I like him a lot, man, but yeah, it's a mad thing. So yeah, Cedric Suarez has been linked with Villarreal. He's out of contract and has only started 1 game this summer. Please cut. This season, please leave. I'm not saying these in the knows do or don't know what they're talking about, but just in the scheme of humoring you guys, apparently Brentford inquired about Eddie Nketiah in recent weeks, and Crystal Palace made an approach today per source. Arsenal want 40 million minimum. That was tweeted 2 days ago at 11:40 p.m. Arteta has a special relationship with Eddie and often points to his work ethic, attitude and commitment in training as a role model for how others in the squad should conduct themselves. Arsenal won't sell unless they receive a considerable substantial offer. Fair enough. I mean, let's see what we're doing, man. And he's also said, I don't believe Arsenal will do anything that will impede the arrival of Oshimen. Toney to Arsenal, a loan with no obligation, is the only way I see it happening. Now, again, I don't know these guys. I'm not saying they do or don't know what they're talking about, but it's very easy to talk about sources. From you see a blue tick, I pay for the blue tick, innit? You have to with Twitter. So I don't know. I hope they know what they're talking about, but I can't take their words for gospel. On the 10th of October, this same individual said, Timber is targeting a return to training in late January and is aiming to play a significant role in the Champions League knockout stages. Then he updated his tweet and said, Timber is on track to return to training in January and is now aiming to make the squad for the trip to Porto on February the 21st. That would be lovely if he's able to do that, but I'll believe it when I see it. Apparently, Arsenal believe Oshimen will join in the summer per source, and on a couple of occasions, Oshimen's agent has been at London Coley in previous years. Napoli are interested in Gabriel Jesus, forget about it. Oshimen's release clause is 103 million, but has mechanisms, I can never say that word, mechanisms, I cannot say that, in place that could increase it to 115 million people. Romano has weighed in on the Eddie Nketiah stuff and said, interest has always been there from 5 or 6 Premier League clubs. I'm also told Bundesliga clubs, but Arsenal are still happy with Nketiah. There are currently no concrete negotiations. I think it could only change with a very important proposal, but at this stage, Arsenal are not desperate to sell at all. If we're not bringing Toney or another striker in Jan, Eddie stays. Unless, again, I don't know Eddie Nketiah, but he seems quite comfortable here. Unless he says, Gaffer, please, I need to cut, I don't think we'll see movement there. Allegedly, again, don't know if the in the knows know what they're talking about. No shade, just disclaimer, because before some of you lot attack me. 9 more likes and we've hit 100, folks. West Ham and Palace are interested in Eddie. Inquiries made. Not sure if Brentford are interested, but reliable people have reported it. Think Arsenal will sell if they get an offer above 30 million. We need a different profile of striker. Arsenal hold an interest in Dominic Solanke as well as retaining a long-term interest in Ivan Toney. We'll try to sign a striker in Jan if possible, but we'll have to get creative with sales/deal structures to make it happen. And that's where Edu earns his money in it. Arsenal allegedly have spoken to boyhood Arsenal fan Solanke. Arsenal actively looking for a striker in the January transfer window. Wonder if you're Jesus and Nketiah, how you'd feel. Again, Onana has the highest dual success rate of any midfielder to win 10 plus duels in the Premier League this season. Some of you lot remember Mikel Arteta's all or nothing, where he said if he loses a duel, he's upset. He would add age, he's 22, height, technical ability, everything. I think he's a quality player, and I would take him at Arsenal. Just don't make him take penalties, really and truly. If you saw yesterday, big up Arteta, because in 2019 he was appointed Arsenal gaffer. He has the best win rate of any permanent manager in the club's history. Some way to go before he's ever in the same realm as Arsene Wenger. With the greatest of respect to Unai Emery, because anybody that took the job straight after Wenger was going to struggle. Maybe Arteta even knew that, because if you remember, Arteta, we was in talks and he said, "No, forget that," which means he's smart. But yeah, he's a better fit for Arsenal than that. And big up Emery doing what he's doing at Aston Villa. No player in Europe's top 7 leagues has more interceptions inside the final third than Declan Rice so far this season. What a player, mate. It's a team game. The 3 sides which have shared the goals around the most. We've got 13 different goal scorers. Everton do. And Newcastle have 14 people, for what it's worth. Don't know what that is, so let's move that on. Charlie Patino is still being linked with moves to Italy and Juventus and all of that, people. Apparently, Charlie Patino is an all-field player. He can play both in front of the defense and as a playmaker or attacking midfielder. And he's a quality player, man. He's got a good mentality. You know, some of you remember the interview I did with him on my channel. Shameless plug. Go and check that out. When he was 16. Big fan of his attitude, man, let alone his ability. He's a good guy. He has a lot of quality. And in England, a lot of people like him. He's very talented. Perhaps he's Arsenal's greatest footballer at youth level. I'm not exaggerating in saying that we are faced with a player who'll be able to make his mark at a high level if he finds the right place. Juventus, Milan, he's in everybody's notebook. He's among the 50 best young players in the world. I don't know if Rabiot will stay at Juventus. Patino is left-footed like him, and the director wants to take the best talents around. As for Arsenal, the Gunners are asking for around 30 million euros. Fair enough. I hope he signs a new deal and can get a place next season, or even, you know, the season beyond that, really, because, you know, he's gone Blackpool at Swansea now. If you could get a Prem loan, and that's like your university or football before you now try and make your mark at Arsenal, fair enough. Obviously, for Charlie, you know, at this moment in time, Jorginho, Elneny, they might not be here. They're in front of you. Partey's in front of you. You've got Fabio Vieira, Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Havertz, who can all play there. And obviously, you've got Declan Rice. And there's only a certain amount of midfielders that can play at one time or be on the bench. And we probably still want some more. So sometimes it's nothing to do with you. It's just circumstantial. So we'll have to see in that regards what's going on. I mean, we've covered that. Arsenal get Oshimen edge over Chelsea thanks to unexpected source. I mean, again, man can just make these things up. I don't know. What has been said here? Arsenal have been given the news that could give them an edge over Chelsea when it comes to the race of Oshimen. Okay. Apparently, Football Transfers understands Vlahovic is the Gunners' primary target in January. So as we're seeing, we're getting to Jan in silly seasons. Every article we've read, it said someone else is a different target, people. We'll have to see. Oh, so they're interested in Kiwior. I mean, in the summer, if we can throw Kiwior into that deal for Oshimen, Kiwior, you've not put a foot wrong, but it is what it is. In January, I'd be gassed with Oshimen, but it don't really make sense. So apart from that, I'm not even going to waste you lot's time. Danish wonder kid set to join Arsenal's Hale End Academy. Arsenal have moved ahead of several European giants in the pursuit of 15-year-old Danish wonder kid Tristan Poduro from Copenhagen. He's been linked with Barca, Dortmund, Leipzig, Real Madrid, and City. I mean, can he join us now? I swear you got to be 18 unless his family got passports here or there's ways to get around it. Apparently, he's currently on trial at Arsenal, people. Oh, he's also eligible to play for England on his mum's side. So, yeah, we could get around it. Don't know how good or not he is, but bring him to the carpet if he's lit, man. Let's get it done. Let's get that done, man, really and truly. Important proposal. Romano drops Arsenal striker update. What does this mean? Oh, we've gone over the Eddie and Nketiah stuff. See, I don't try and miss a beat for you lot. Barca step-up transfer hijack on Man United and Arsenal target. Barcelona's attempts to land a midfielder during the January transfer window have seen them turn their attentions towards Fluminense midfielder Andre, who recently said he'd like to play in the Premier League, people. So we'll have to see what goes on there. Has been linked with Arsenal, Liverpool and United. So we'll have to see. But he did say, I watched the Premier League and it's a big dream to play there. I'm focused on finishing the season with Fluminense and realizing our own dream of winning the Club World Cup. But my dream is clear to be a Premier League player. Fair enough. All we need is Marcus Leonardo links again. I mean, some of you want Feyenoord's Jimenez. Chelsea and Spurs have also been linked with him, as well as Fulham and Arsenal. He's likely to cost in excess of 60 million. Which we'll have to see. Feyenoord are set to ask for a fee of more than 60 million to part with their inform attacker, and a well-placed source has told Football Insider that a move is more likely in the summer than the new year. Currently, people, this season, he's got 20 goals and 4 assists in 20 appearances. Last term, he hit 28 goals, and he's 6 foot. So there's a lot to like about him, essentially. Arsenal have set a lofty Eddie Nketiah price tag to deter January interest. What's the price tag? And this is said we're actually not looking to sell him. Even if the Gunners were more mindful for a sell, they would demand a figure close to 50 million. Fair enough. You know, he's more of a main player than Balogun was in the Arsenal setup. He is in England, international one-cap wonder, but you get the point. And has shown that he can keep Jesus out the squad to a degree. 50 million for Eddie's a bit mad, and I don't think Arsenal are trying to get that, but I hear it in it because crapper players have gone for worse. And I hear it. And you got to remember, he's 24. You know, from 24 to 27 is when you start seeing these strikers really come into their own. So you can't dislodge the fact that Eddie might wake up and be a prolific bagsman, but he is under contract until 2027, has the faith of Arteta. Apparently, PSG are closing in on a 20 million transfer deal for Sao Paulo defender Lucas Beraldo. Apparently, Arsenal were linked with him as well, so we can forget about that. He does look quite lit, and seems like PSG are trying to get these young Brazilian talents. In relation to Douglas Luiz, his price tag is set to drop in next summer's transfer window if he does not sign a new contract. Didn't he just sign one? Apparently, in January, they're asking for 100 million. Apparently, interestingly, Luiz will have just 18 months left to run on his Villa Park deal when the season comes to a conclusion. And it's believed his valuation will drop accordingly if there's no progress made on a new agreement. So, yeah, you could get him for a quote-unquote more affordable fee. I think he goes for anything from 50 to 70 million. So I hear that. Kenan Yildiz apparently has discussed his Juventus future. Didn't he just sign for them? He said, I've spoken to the sporting director about January. No, he is a tough guy, too tough for me to handle. When I was 3 years old, I started playing football. At 7, I was already in Bayern Munich. When the contract with them expired, Juventus offered me the best opportunity to continue my career, and I'm very happy to have chosen Turin. Okay, that don't really help us. What's this about? Yeah, so yeah, we know we're not trying to sell Ramsdale. We know Kai Havertz has found his feet. I won't bore you with that. And we know that as well, people. And finally, apparently, Lamptey of Brighton, is he still at Brighton? But anyways, Partey has been included in Ghana's squad for AFCON, people, despite his injuries. Apparently, the final 27-man squad will be submitted on January the 3rd. Kudus is also there. So it doesn't mean he's going to be necessarily there or fit, but it must mean there's some hope that Partey can play some part of Ghana's tournament. So I guess we'll have to see what happens in that regards, man. The next World Cup final is being played at... Oh, okay. That's not my thing. Arsenal players hate depth too. The moment players are sat on the bench, it's immediate conversations about transfers to get game time. I disagree because we don't necessarily know that. Naturally, if you're not playing enough game time, you're going to want to move on or start to think about that. But the better we get as a football team, the more competition. I think all of these players know if Arsenal's trying to move to where we need to, then we need a stronger squad. Then if you're a real guy, if you play for Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Barca, Real Madrid, Chelsea, bro, competition comes. You know, it is what it is. If you want to play every game, make sure the manager's got no choice. Palmer went for 45. Gordon went for 40. Eddie is worth it. I think what we've clocked in this day and age now, it's not necessarily even if a player's worth it. It's what you can hustle, man. I think Porto was the third toughest draw, in my opinion, tougher than PSG, especially for us, considering our record against Portuguese teams. But hey, Andre's got to worry about City in the final. Good way to showcase his talents. Did you see we are linked with bringing Harry Clark back from Ipswich? I did, and I tried to find some sort of news on that, but it just seemed like all the in-the-knows were talking about that. Obviously, you know, he can play centre-half as well as right-back, and he's 22. Maybe he's seen to be in the first team, but have Arsenal said, you know what, we're going to activate his buyback clause, loan him out for a couple of seasons, and then make a bit of money on him? I don't know. Personally, Solanke is second choice. Not for me, but I hear that, man. Brentford totally want Eddie, yet Toney is a free agent in Jan. Great logic, these fakes. I wouldn't say he's a free agent in Jan. I don't think they said that, but yeah. Cedric lingering in the club like a low-grade flu. In fairness to Cedric, this is one Arteta got wrong. I mean, as much as I praise Arteta, Lokonga, to be fair, you said Tavares was the analytical team, but Lokonga, Tavares, Pablo Marie, Cedric, and Willian, there he has to hold his thing, man. He has to hold that. If I'm honest. And then you go to Atletico, but a 6 first. I hear that. Gassing up Toney, top 5, not so fast. To be fair, wouldn't you as well? You know Premier League teams want him. You know he's got money. You know the striker market is crazy. You know his contract is running down. Got new agents, 18 months left on his deal. Wait, is what you can hustle, you know. I'm sure they'll sell Toney to the highest bidder, and Brentford seem to do well for strikers. They've had Ollie Watkins, ironically, had Ivan Toney, you know, had Mupé when his stock was a bit higher. and they'll probably find the next one, really and truly. So it's an interesting one, really and truly, but we have to see. But you are right, though, man. It's what you can hustle. I don't even think it's not even about what a player is worth anymore. It's literally about what you can get. And, you know, Arsenal, I'd say last summer, we took a step in the right direction with the Balogun sale and selling Austin Trusty for a profit. But we're not notoriously known as good sellers. So I think that's something Edu's going to have to address at some point. And Arsenal as a whole, really and truly. So we're going to have to see, really and truly. If I was gassing, I'd say top 3 shameless settings. Big up yourself, Ends. And yeah, as the man said, smash the like button. Should we see if there's any other Arsenal news? If not, I'll let you lot bust out. I don't even want to talk about Liverpool. We'll deal with Liverpool on Friday when the press conference comes out, man. Don't even want to watch none of that. Solanke rumours not going away. We've gone over that. What's this? I don't want to entertain title talk. I don't look at the league table. I don't know where Arsenal are in the table. So yeah, would you bring in Vermeeren from Antwerp in January? Would cost around 10 million, would add depth to the squad, unlocking potential, would save us spending more money in the summer for midfield. I don't think he's going to pull up any trees initially, but I like his age profile, like how he plays, like what I've seen in the Champions League. Being interested or scouting don't mean you're going to move for the player. But yeah, bring him, man. Like, bring him, get it done. Especially if you can sign him for 10 million, and if he becomes a player for Arsenal, great. But one day, if he becomes 60 odd million worth, there's resale value, which we need to remember. What's a title race? I don't know what a title race is. You know, last time I checked, you know, they said we was overrated. In many ways, you know, yeah, you could say a title race is about, you know, winning trophies, but seeing your manager improve, seeing your teammates improve, seeing your players improve, seeing the club's atmosphere get better and better. In many ways, that could be a title challenge, really, just to put joy back into the lives of Arsenal fans, really. I'm on my Arsene Wenger PR bag, man. I can't lie to you. And if some of you looked at that like that makes no sense, that's the whole point. The job's been achieved. Don't forget, people, for my Twitch runs, we're playing Football Manager at 4:30. But I can't lie, there's nothing more to really go over, man. I've enjoyed you lot's talk. I've enjoyed you lot's conversation. I've enjoyed you lot hitting the like button and things like that. If there's anything to discuss, I'll be back tomorrow. Make sure your notification bells are on. If you ain't hit the like button, hit it on the way out. You man are in a title race. Listen, I'm just taking it game by game. I don't know what a title race is. I don't look at the league table. I will look at the league table in May after 38 games played when everyone's done. I don't know, man. I can't control what Sky Sports and all these things say. But to me, I haven't heard anybody say Arsenal's fighting for a title or in a title race and things like that. We're just taking it one game at a time. Hopefully a stress-free FM today. Nah, it ain't happening, man. Everyone is better than us. None of our players are top tier. Let them talk. Exactly. Exactly. I don't know, man. We're just happy to be here. But yeah, people, you lot enjoy what's left of your day. Thank you for being here and talking and engaging and listening and everything. If you ain't hit the like button, hit the like button again. With it being, you know, the last 2 weeks of the year, if my math's right. Let's make sure we're having a positive end. Hope you and your loved ones are well and safe. And we'll link up again, people. But for now, peace.
Against this right back, Charlie.
There's always just that active and that defending. I think it's like. There's always just that active and that defending.